This is a Markforged webinar. It's about accelerating the adoption of AM across aerospace and defense verticals. And the reason why we're having this today is when we're out talking with customers in these verticals, we often hear about the challenges they face when it comes to adopting additive technology. And usually it falls into the technology is a key component, but also people and process. So we're going to try to address all three of those categories today. You know, Markforged is a technology company, so there'll be a little bit heavier rotation on that piece, but there's a number of things that we're doing with the people and process components that we'll highlight as well. All right, so let's jump into it. I am Tony Higgins. I'm the director of the Markforged Federal team, which for us includes all DoD and civilian parts of the US federal government, and also a large number of the aerospace and defense manufacturing companies. And Melissa?
Hey everyone, my name is Melissa Levy. I am an aerospace and defense account manager supporting a lot of our aerospace customers. So hopefully some of you guys that are on the line I've worked with or spoken with you.
All right, and our contact info is there. And as Melissa mentioned at the beginning, we're happy to address questions as we go along. If there's anything that you want to address with us offline, our contact information's on this slide. And we're going to end on this slide as well, so you'll see our contact information again. All right, so here's the agenda. We'll do a little Markforged introduction update for those that might not be as familiar with us or what's been happening lately at Markforged. I want to introduce this new concept of AM4 that was just recently announced earlier this month. And then we'll talk about the AM adoption initiatives that Markforged has, but these include new capabilities, what we're doing from a materials and standards perspective, and also how we're handling security and standards around that. And then we'll focus on customer success, joint R&D activities, how our application engineers help, service, and also workforce development. So that last bullet will be a heavy focus on the people process components of AM adoption. All right, so we'll just start with Markforged. So we're about 9 years old. We're based in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm located in Washington, D.C. And we have on the line here, Melissa and myself focused on defense and aerospace. So in these verticals, a lot of the attention is around point of need printing for some of our warfighter and active duty military. There's a heavy dose of maintenance and repair operations. And then increasingly, we have customers that are looking to print and manufacture end use parts. All right, the company went public in July 2021, so a little bit less than a year ago. And that is important for our customers and also for our partners because it did help the company raise a lot of capital that's being invested back into the company as we invent next generations of technology and also hire new talent. So we added about 250 people last year. The company, I think, still qualifies as a small business, especially compared to many of the types of organizations that we support. We're just around 450 full-time employees. And we are always seeking new talent, particularly on the engineering side. So if you know any friends and family that might be interested, please keep that in mind to follow up with us as we get to the end of the session. Okay. And so this here, the Markforged the Digital Forge, this is our platform. So Markforged manufactures industrial 3D printers. We make metal printers, composite printers. We also manufacture the filament that these printers print, including the continuous fibers, which is one of the areas that I think is unique to Markforged in the polymer printing. And then we also manufacture the software, Eiger, which is our management software, slicing software. It's how our connected printers can communicate with each other, where we have large fleets of customers, especially in the commercial environments, but also supporting offline customers. So we just last year launched a new version of our offline Eiger, which has the ability to connect to private networks. This is important. We have a Marine Corps program that we support where printers at the point of need are distributed when the Marines have the ability to connect to their private network, the Mixen, they're able to pull down parts from approved part libraries and send print jobs over the private network wide area. All right. All right, and then just kind of set the table. The Markforged as a company is working with customers across multiple verticals. We represent aerospace and military customers and also actually space exploration, but we also have automotive customers. There's even customers in the healthcare and medical space, as well as kind of like probably our bread and butter is industrial automation, large manufacturing, and as well as small manufacturing companies. All right, just a quick snapshot there. All right, so I just want to highlight this before we jump into the things that we're doing to help with the adoption of additive, because I think this is relevant. Earlier this month, on May 6th, President Biden announced a new initiative called AM Forward. And it's really at a macro level, he's trying to address supply chain challenges, inflation, and also ensuring that the government can get the products it needs from the large, kind of think of it like the tier one lead systems integrators, A&D companies like the Lockheeds and the Boeings of the world. So this initiative is going to have several, 5 initially, but probably it's going to go beyond that, maybe 8 to 10 large scale aerospace, defense type companies that will be pledging to acquire 3D printed parts from their supply chains, small and medium businesses. So I think the key message here is at the highest levels in the U.S. government, there's an effort to accelerate the adoption of additive to help with some of these supply chain challenges. And it's probably going to result in zero or low interest loans to small, medium businesses to acquire additive technology. And they'll be doing that in coordination with the large scale aerospace and lead systems integrator companies that will have approved parts, certified parts to acquire with that type of technology. So it'll be wide range of AM technology, probably the full spectrum of it, and being purchased through, hopefully dozens and dozens of small and medium manufacturing companies. That's tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers. So just kind of was good timing to see this pop up in the news over the past few weeks.
So when we chat about accelerating adoption of additive manufacturing across both defense and aerospace, this takes also the form of solving problems across different stages of the product development cycle, from prototyping and idea development through supporting production. And then lastly, obviously, the creating end use parts for flight applications or for other end use system applications. Definitely a little bit more difficult application for creating and developing flight parts or end use parts that are going into a aerospace or defense environment. But it is something that we will chat a little bit more through some of these slides on what we're doing to try to ease that adoption. Really, again, the kinds of problems we're looking to solve revolve around what our customers are doing with the printers and the software in our system and the problems that they're trying to solve with it, from the beginning of the stages of prototyping through actually printing parts.
The goal here is not to deliver a Markforged product update or sales presentation, but we are going to talk about some of our technology in the context of what we're hearing from customers and what we're developing for customers to help it make it easier for them to adopt the technology. So we're going to highlight a couple of our printer platforms, some of the things we're heading towards in the software front, and then we'll focus on the materials that we're adding. All right, so please keep that context in mind as we dive in here. Okay, so the first one is something I've been directly involved with over the past 3 years since I've been at Markforged, and it originally developed as a request that we heard from the Navy and the Marine Corps for point of need printing. So they had been using our industrial and desktop polymer printers like the Mark II and the X7. And they came to us and said, if you had a way to take a COTS printer that's already exists, that's already been tested and proven in our community, and just package it in a rugged kit along with the spare parts, like tools, extra material, consumables, but even things that might not be considered a consumable, like a spare print head or a print bed, items that if they fail, then you're out of commission. Package all that together into a rugged kit that two people could carry and move around from tent to tent. That would help us with several of our use cases for where the Marine Corps is heading, and ultimately probably also customers in the Army and the Navy as well. So the X7, this is called the X7 Field Edition, and it's just what it sounds like. It is our COTS X7 printer, all in one package. It does, as I mentioned earlier, have access to our offline Eiger software. So if you are in a situation where you're not able to connect via the internet to your Eiger libraries, you can connect to your private network when you have the ability to do that. Pull down already, parts that have already been kind of like in a digital inventory. And also, as part of this program for the Marine Corps, we updated the operating system on the printer to make it STIG compliant, and put a heavy eye to the cybersecurity and security features in the software, the OS as well as the offline Eiger. All right, so that's X7 Field Edition, a little kind of diagram there of the different layers inside the Pelican case. All right, the next thing that we've added, and this is something that like I said, I've been here for 3 years, and almost in every meeting that we have, especially for existing customers who are familiar with our Onyx material, which is our nylon-based chopped carbon fiber material, and continuous filament, continuous reinforcement. A lot of those customers have asked for larger print volumes, wider range of material, and also faster. And so all of that has come together with a new printer we just started shipping earlier this year called the FX20. As you can see there, if the person standing in front of it, this is a completely different form factor from previous Markforged printers, and is resulting in a bunch of new capabilities. So it's been announced. It was just on display at Rapid last week in Detroit, and it's now available and in the market. Many of our reseller partners have these now in their demo rooms. So if this is an item that is of interest, please follow up later. But the idea here is, we're now having a platform that can address a wider range of customer requirements as 3D printing expands. Okay, and this is a new one. This is not available yet. We just earlier this year, Markforged made its first acquisition of a small software company called Teton Software. And this company, their software platform is being integrated into our management and slicing software, Eiger. And it will come out later this year. And it's essentially based on FEA, or finite element analysis tools. So it's going to help customers answer the question, is a part strong enough? Where should I put continuous fiber? What build orientation would make the most sense when we're going to print the part? And we hear this all the time. I can picture very clearly a discussion with some Army customers at Rock Island Arsenal that said that they liked the Markforged composite printers, but they weren't sure how to make recommendations on how much fiber to use. Is 3 strands enough? Is 50 strands enough? Like what's the right amount to get to a certain strength? And we've never been able to answer that question effectively. It's always been, it kind of depends. You got to just try it several times. So going forward with this simulation capability, we'll be able to make estimates on the strength of a part just based off of the STL and the design part once it gets loaded into Eiger. So a very exciting new development that's heading our way, hopefully by the end of the calendar year.
Yeah, and definitely a great tool to help support decreasing your prototyping and design development phases by, instead of printing and testing, being able to simulate instead.
Yep, that's correct. Thank you.
A little background about Markforged materials. So we offer a wide range of materials that support different use cases across aerospace and defense and other industries. Our materials are fabricated by Markforged in-house to ensure quality and repeatability. Our materials, as Tony mentioned, as part of the Digital Forge, our materials are tightly tuned with our printers and our software so that it takes the worrying away from our customers of getting the right print setting. So Markforged has already tuned everything so that you get your best in class print. Our main base material is called Onyx that you see in the center of the screen. This is a great strong material, nylon-based material with chopped carbon fiber. It creates very strong, repeatable parts, best in class surface finish with the print tuning that's built in, and great for functional tools. Lots of customers using this material for support production and use parts too. We also offer some different variants that you see there. Onyx FR, which is flame retardant and an electrostatic dissipative version of Onyx. Onyx can actually be made stronger by adding continuous fiber to the parts. So carbon fiber, Kevlar, and fiberglass that you see on the left-hand side of the screen can be put into your parts, into your Onyx-based parts for added strength, tensile properties. On the metal side, we've got a range of materials that were developed and added to our Digital Forge to solve different customer problems related to strength, temperature, conductivity, corrosion resistance, and so on. So I know I saw a question that came through about aluminum. We don't offer aluminum, and it's not a great fit for our technology. But a lot of the weight saving properties that you get with aluminum can be achieved with metal FFF printing by changing your infill patterns, by saving weight. We're using maybe stainless steel. So you can achieve some of the properties you would get with aluminum out of our steel in terms of weight savings. So again, all these materials were selected by talking with our customers, trying to solve problems using additive technology that they're trying to solve for their end use parts, tools, MRO production. A new material that we just launched is called Precise PLA. So on the last slide, talked a little bit about Onyx and continuous fiber. So the Markforged platform has printed those materials for some time, but we did see the opportunity to accelerate the adoption of additive technologies, especially in the prototyping and concept development stages by adding this new material. So Precise PLA, it's offered in 6 different colors, and it is a low-cost alternative to Onyx. So especially when you're in the beginning of your design cycle, it's great to be able to use this material to quickly iterate from initial concept idea through to your part optimization until you are ready to print your final part. You can use it for prototyping, obviously, to then print your final part on the same printer or something you're going to later print in metal, or even manufactured using traditional means. So it can be used in a wide range of ways, depending on what your end use part is going to look like. So in this, it's also got, so we call Precise PLA, it's got best in class finish and repeatability. So you can ensure that the design that you're creating is going to be great before you go into production. So in the picture, this shows how the blue parts were how someone went from an initial design and optimization using Precise PLA and then printed their final part in Onyx with carbon fiber for added strength.
And one thing I just want to add here, over the years, we often have heard, especially from some of our military customers, that have multiple brands of 3D printing, that they get some of the best parts off their Markforged machines, but we found that they often weren't using them as much because they were hoarding the Onyx material, particularly when they're in forward locations. where it was harder to get and at a higher price point. So they would use some of the hobbyist machines with commodity material. So this precise PLA is not the commodity version, but it is about 25% the price of our Onyx material. So hopefully that'll make it easier for our customers to leverage less volume of printers and get more capability out of the same machine. So there's no hardware differences or nozzle changes or anything that needs to be updated on the printers to switch between material. All right, moving right along.
I will unmute myself. This is another new material that we just launched, as opposed to relating more to the prototyping stage. This is definitely more geared towards supporting production and end use parts. So this material is Ultem 9085 filament and continuous fiber or continuous carbon fiber for Ultem. So these new materials open the opportunity for printing high temperature thermoplastics and reinforcing them with carbon fiber. The materials are heat resistant, chemical resistant, flame, smoke, and toxicity compliant for demanding applications. Ultem 9085 filament is well known, especially in the aerospace and defense industry. It's a great material, and by adding reinforcement of carbon fiber unlocks new applications, especially in aerospace and defense parts that have high stringent requirements. And this material is also traceable to support these stringent requirements.
All right.
Lastly, as it relates to materials, Markforged has been working with other industry groups to help accelerate the adoption of additively manufactured parts, especially end-use parts for flight and for other systems. First, we've got an ongoing effort with NCAMP, the National Center for Advanced Materials Performance, to develop specifications and release data related to our flame retardant Onyx and carbon fiber material. So that's the material that's shown over here on the right. This is, I talked about it briefly in a prior slide. It's flame retardant version of Onyx. It comes with full traceability, and there's carbon fiber for that can be routed through the part as well. It's strong and lightweight, and it can meet flame, smoke, and toxicity requirements. Also, we've been launching and working with SAE on efforts to create an aerospace material specification for Onyx FRA and carbon fiber for FRA. And lastly, we have been participating in the writing of a CMH 17 or Composite Materials Handbook for additively manufactured parts. This is something that emphasizes the process and material best practices as it relates to different materials and different systems, the materials and those platforms that they relate to. So as it comes to these are all resources that will be able to be used by industry and the government to support any creating additively manufactured flight or high requirement system parts.
Okay, hopefully that gives you a snapshot on kind of where Markforged is heading. And a lot of these activities, particularly when I kind of shift to the next couple of slides around what we're doing to address some of the people and process challenges of adopting AM, are being made available because of the additional staff that we've added at Markforged, focus on supporting these standards and also supporting workforce development. So that's kind of, let me just make sure, that is kind of like the Markforged technology component of what we're doing to drive adoption. We're going to focus a little bit more on some of the process items now. I'm going to talk about security. And Melissa, if you I'm not sure if I can view the chat and Q&A while I'm going through it, but if you're able to just do a double check on the side, that'd be helpful, just to make sure we're not missing something.
Definitely. And I think we've got a bunch of questions around simulation that maybe we can address at the end.
Okay.
And I'll start answering some of the questions in the chat.
So. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So a little bit of we're changing gears now. So now we're going to talk about what Markforged is doing on the security front. 4 areas that we're highlighting here. A couple of years ago, we did get our ISO 27001 certification. This really speaks to how Markforged is handling the management of information security specifically. We have a security team here. We're focused on data privacy and integrity of the data. So that's kind of speaks to the company business practices to get this kind of a certification. For many of our customers, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 15,000 plus systems deployed over the past 9 years. The great majority of those customers access the printers via a cloud-based online version of Eiger. It lives in the AWS public cloud, secure public cloud. We also have an offline version for customers who aren't able to participate in the public internet. And in that system, it basically runs in a complete air-gapped environment. It does have the ability to connect via private networks so that you could have a sense of fleet management and driving print jobs over a fleet of offline printers. And on top of that, there's strict data security. And we just at AMUG a couple months ago, Markforged delivered a presentation. And if this is an area of interest, there's a whole deck behind this sentence here that we'd be happy to share offline. But it talks about how Markforged approaches securing the additive tool chain. So from the creation of a part file in CAD software all the way through to the finished part, the part files are encrypted. They live in random memory on the printers. So if somebody is able to access the printer, if the printer goes off, loses power, all of the data on the printer is lost. So from a security perspective, you don't have to worry about your parts being compromised or tampered with in an offline environment or online environments. And then, as I mentioned earlier, as part of an effort update to our OS last year, we have a STIG compliant solution that we developed as part of this Marine Corps program, but it's also been deployed on all of our printers for added security. All right, so that's on the security front. And then security slash also just kind of process. Because of the work we've been doing with the military, some folks at the Pentagon were able to provide a grant to a DoD institute called MXD, the Manufacturing X Digital. They're located in Chicago. And this organization, their .org, is very focused on cybersecurity. So the grant and the project that we're participating in with them is essentially they're conducting a NIST-based risk assessment of our platform. So basically a standards-based assessment so that as we go through this, the output that we're going to receive will give customers the ability to kind of know what's the starting point. And we're aware that every organization, whether it's DoD or aerospace or even commercial industry, has various different types of security requirements that are often unique to that facility or that site. And so we're not addressing every one of those individual security requirements, but what we are doing through this project is we're going to show up with a standards-based risk score. So now we connect with, and usually it's a different audience from our normal customers who are in the manufacturing space. This is a discussion that we're having with the IT folks and the cybersecurity folks. We'll be able to present them or provide them with a risk-based score so that they know what the starting point is with the Markforged platform. And then they can add their unique requirements on top of that. But it should, the ultimate goal here is to accelerate their ability to approve the platform for connecting to their private networks. So this is a huge step up. I've noticed, many of our customers in the military side early on, think of it like coming out of like the warfare centers where they're doing a lot of R&D work. But we're starting to get into more production locations. We're deployed at the naval shipyards and some of the other big maintenance depots. And when we're in those facilities, the security and the cyber teams always need to review and approve the technology. And that can be sometimes one of the longest components in the process to get the technology connected to the network. So the idea here is we go through this multi-phase project, we'll have risk scores that we can share with our customers. So that's kind of the activity we're doing with MXD. But I also just want to kind of pause for a second and put in a question for the audience here. One of the things that came up, I just was talking about this last week when I was at Rapid. We are considering moving or making a version of our Eiger available in the AWS Gov Cloud. So if you're not familiar with, so AWS is Amazon Web Services, and they're basically a public cloud provider, but they have a Gov Cloud version that has a lot of the security, FedRAMP security requirements that are needed by the federal government, the U.S. federal government, and it's much more of a secure offering. So one of the love to get feedback from the audience here if there was a version of our software available in the Gov Cloud, would that be something that would they'd be able to consume? And the reason for that would be, when we operate our printers completely offline, there's some capabilities that we just can't provide. We can't get updates pushed out as quick. If a new feature comes out, like we mentioned PLA and some other materials, those are all going to be slicer updates in Eiger. And the online versions get those updates, on a weekly, multi-weekly process. In the offline environments, it's probably more like quarterly for the updates. So just an example of a benefit you can get from having access to the platform in the cloud. So I'll leave that there. Love to have any comments or feedback in the chat if that would be something that customers would like to learn more about, or if they could share if that would be helpful to them in deploying the platform. Okay, so this is kind of like one of the last primary slides in the deck here. And what I'm trying to highlight here is just some of the people process stuff that we're doing to help customers adopt AM. So first of all, about 3 years ago, we recognized that these verticals, aerospace and federal, have different sets of requirements than our commercial customers. And as a result, we've developed a team that Melissa and I are part of. We have some application engineers. We have resources in our product group that have direct experience with the federal government. And all of that together is making it possible for us to bring capabilities to the market that are able to be consumed by this customer set. We are willing to engage in joint R&D activities. We currently have 2 ongoing active CRADAs with the Navy, one with NAVSEA that's focused on point of need printing, both supporting the Marine Corps, but also could result in a float printing where the Navy is doing vibration tests and rail tests and shock tests on the technology to see how it would hold up if the printers were installed on ships. And we also just recently kicked off a CRADA with NAVAIR, where they're looking at our new platform primarily to investigate parts for MROs to support aircraft, flight parts, stuff that might be on an aircraft, and also custom tooling that might be used with the aircraft. So that is a new project, and both of those activities, along with the Pathfinder project with MXD, are made possible because we now have a little bit of additional manpower on the team to address these types of things, because they're a little bit outside of what Markforged as a startup 4 or 5 years ago didn't have the capability to address. So this is a key point. If you're in an aerospace organization or part of the U.S. federal government, or even international customers, I'd encourage you to engage with your Markforged team. This is not the same old Markforged that you may have known from 3 or 4 years ago. We do have quite a bit additional capability now, and we're craving to participate in these sorts of activities because it helps us improve the products for our entire customer set. We do, if you are familiar with us, we really don't do any business direct, whether it's with the US federal government or other customers. So we have a network of authorized partners in the federal space as well as in commercial. And these organizations, they're really the services arm for us. So they do not only installation of our technology, but they also provide field services. So if somebody needs to come and turn a wrench, that's provided by these folks. So they're key to have in the ecosystem supporting you. And they're also, this is maybe more of a specific item for people in the federal government. They're also very helpful in navigating contract vehicles. And this is, I didn't mention that previously, but one of the challenges that I often see around adoption of AM in the federal government is just the struggle with how to purchase the technology. You know, there's not really a good contract vehicle yet for additive manufacturing. It doesn't neatly fit into the contracted vehicles that are out there, like the DLA troop support contracts that are really aimed around construction. And it doesn't totally fit neatly into the IT contracts. It's kind of an area in between. So our partners, along with our federal team here at Markforged, can help customers navigate the different options and figure out what's the right one for them.
And we did have a question come up around GSA schedule contracts. Do your partners have GSA schedule contracts to acquire products and services, including installation and support? So GSA schedule.
Yeah, so I was good call out. All of our products are on the GSA schedule. How we handle services, Markforged, really the only services that we provide directly are related to education. We do have a kind of like a custom services line item for ad hoc projects, and all of those part numbers are available on the GSA schedule. And then, as I just said, there is in terms of workforce development, we do have several options around design for additive manufacturing, because this probably should be the first bullet on this slide. But one of the largest inhibitors we see for adoption is, just how to get the most out of these systems, right? Most of the customers that we have are used to traditional manufacturing. And we do believe that additive is extremely complementary. We want to be positioning our technology in machine shops and manufacturing shops. But there is some differences with the additive components. So how you design a part or redesign a part that could still fit a traditional part, but maybe it has some design changes to make it lend itself to be printed in our FFF style printing. We have an online version of that's called Markforged University. And we can also do custom training. We can do operator training. We have a project right now we're talking to NASA about, where they're interested in putting printers on other planets and sustaining their supply chain. And there's a whole class that we can offer to them around maintenance and repair and support for the equipment, as well as designing for additive. So that's a kind of a key focus area for us. And whenever you're talking with us about our technology, I'd encourage you to ask about the Markforged University and what we're doing around workforce development to make it easier for our customers to take advantage of additive. All right. So I think we're just going to end it on this slide. I'll put our contact information up in a second. So we're at 40 past the hour. This is just kind of a snapshot of some of the activity that we've got going on in the federal and aerospace verticals. I guess this one's mostly federal. Just to give you an idea that we are working with all branches of the military or the US federal government, that is, including the military. We do have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 500 systems deployed in this community in the US. And a small practice around us. So it's a key vertical for us. It's still a relatively small part of Markforged's overall business, but as what we've noticed, this community is largely early adopters. They start to develop the technology and then they study it intensively. So we're in that stage with many of these customers as they figure out what good end use parts they can get out of it and how the technology could be deployed, whether it's for maintenance or end use parts. Okay, and that is going to wrap up the formal presentation. I'm going to put back to our pictures here with the contact info. And, Melissa, are you able to just share any feedback on the questions?
Definitely. Yep. There's definitely a handful of questions related to the new simulation capability. So will the simulation capability be pushed as an update to Eiger? Is it going to be offline? And or like how will we access this new feature?
Yep. So it's going to be a software subscription service, which is something you're going to see from Markforged around software of a lot of the enterprise software offerings that we have around fleet. And we also have, which we didn't mention here, is Blacksmith, which is kind of an in-process inspection technology. These capabilities will all be provided as a software subscription. So kind of like an add-on to the basic Eiger slicing. The simulation capability is set to come out later this year. We don't have all of the details on it yet, but like all of the software offerings, it does start with the online versions, and then we're exploring how to provide it in an offline environment. There may be, it won't be part of the initial release. I can say that for sure. When it will be available, we don't have that information right now, but I wanted to highlight it here. In particular, because it's something that many of our customers have asked about, and it's something that internally within Markforged, our federal team, myself and Melissa and the rest of us are advocating for us to figure out how to deploy it in an offline environment.
Yep. And Tony mentioned this a little bit, but the software will be accessed via Eiger, so it will be. If this is something that you're interested in and move forward, it would be something that you would grab in Eiger and online. I'm trying to see what other questions. So is there a ruggedized expeditionary metal printer that we offer?
Not at this time. We have had that request. The Marine Corps in particular has deployed our Metal-X systems in forward locations, but kind of more like at depot level. So think of like Okinawa or Kuwait, where they've set up systems to be closer to the point of need. But we don't have a rugged version. And I think that may be an opportunity for us to work with our channel partners. Markforged. We went down the path with the XM Field Edition because of the demand on a particular program with the Marine Corps. And we believe that it also has applicability to other customers in these verticals and even in commercial verticals. But I have a feeling that in the long run, ruggedizing our printers might be something we partner with. So if there's a need for other printer technologies like the metal printer to be ruggedized somehow, we would look to a partner for help with that. Love to know more about what the use case is there. I will tell you that there are some customers that are exploring. This is definitely off script here, but there are customers exploring other types of sintering technology that are a little bit more durable and able to be moved around in forward locations. But that's it's kind of like an exploratory stage right now. So more on that later, but that's, depending on what the use case is and the need, we'd love to try to coordinate that and learn more about what you're trying to accomplish.
Perfect. And then, Tony, do you know if we are sharing the slides or presentation post?
Yes, we can share it. I guess we got to figure out, I guess if whoever's asking that, we just have their contact info, we could just share it out.
Shoot us an email.
We will, the Markforged marketing team, which also has expanded in the past year, has set up a YouTube channel. So what I understand is going to happen with this content is it will be made available via our YouTube channel. So that might be the best way to share it, because it's probably a large PowerPoint deck here in terms of the size of it. So if you just ping us, whoever that is, we can let you know when it's posted in YouTube.
All right. I think we got most of the questions. If we did not happen to get to your question, or we did not answer it as fully as you wanted, feel free to shoot us a note and we'd be happy to discuss further.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks very much for joining us today. Thank you, Melissa, for your help, and we will be talking to you all soon.